All right.
It's that time of week again, everybody. This is the CAC Live Show on CAClive.com, coming at you live from the Santan Valley, Arizona, and we are broadcasting globally across the world.
That's right.
We have listeners from, how many different countries did we say?
15, 20.
15, 20?
I'm sure there's some Papua New Guinean headhunters out there listening to this show right now, going, man, he's got a nice head we could shrink and put on a pole.
Yeah.
That's fairly normal.
If you need me to switch to Spanish, just let me know.
Okay.
Excellent.
We can broadcast bilingually, or maybe even do some subtitles too.
We could do that.
Joe, can you keep up? Can you transcribe that on the fly?
Most definitely.
Okay, great. Well, again, we are at CAC Live. This is the CAClive.com radio station. I am Dan Bush, guest hosting today for Tom DiCamillo. He is out of state on business, and we have a very special guest here today. We have Chief Louis Martinez here. This is the Central Arizona College Campus Police Chief. And just to dispel any rumors, this is actually a real police department. This is not a rent-a-cop facility. This is not campus security.
Why would anyone think anything other than that?
Well, you know, a lot of people don't understand how the jurisdictions work. They don't understand how what they're charged with in keeping the peace on campus. And the chief can talk a little bit more about that in a minute. And we have a whole slew of topics to cover today, so I don't want to waste a lot of time. I want to get right into it because the chief has a very varied background in law enforcement and keeping the peace and various different areas. We had a little talk about he was stationed at Oahu in the past.
Oahu.
Well, I was
Oahu.
Oahu. Well, I just came back from Oahu. I was on vacation.
You know what? My mind automatically went to fishing. I'm like, he was fishing for Wahoo?
I saw your fishing poles out there, by the way.
Right on.
Yeah. So anyway, without any further ado, I want to introduce Chief Louis Martinez to everybody. And we are live video and audio. And so I encourage people to log on to CAClive.com and go to the chat. You guys are able to actually communicate with us during the show. We can respond to your questions, and you can also call into the station. Joe, why don't you give them the phone number they can call in?
That would be 480-745-1033.
And you can ask any questions you'd like.
And we now have 31 lines in here.
31
we have upgraded.
lines.
First, we upgraded 7 to 21, and then we put another 10 in for conferencing.
Fantastic.
Does it ever end?
We're gonna light up all of those lines.
I'm pretty sure
with today's interview because the chief is going to talk about some very interesting things. We're also going to cover a hobby of his, and one of the things we like to do on CAC Live is go into and profile some of the people who work at CAC, the students, the staff, and the faculty, because the people here are very dynamic, and we have a lot more than meets the eye when it comes to what we can offer the community and what we enjoy doing in our spare time. I'm currently the director of marketing at Central Arizona College, but I also moonlight teaching recording engineering, and will be transitioning to a full-time faculty position later.
You may not know this, but CAC Live, since you said the word profiling, is often, I don't want to say confused with, but compared to the show Criminal Minds.
Really?
And it fits right in with Chief Martinez here.
I love that show, Criminal
It's a
Minds.
great show.
That's a great show.
I'm sorry that there's a fly in here, because it's really bothering me right now.
Does the fly get a microphone?
I'll shoot it in a minute. Don't worry about it.
I've heard you could take a fly out of the air.
He's that good.
I've
seen him shoot. I've seen him shoot. He's that good. So, okay, well, let's introduce the chief to everybody. And first off, can you tell us a little bit about your background, your experience in law enforcement, and even before that? What kind of expertise do you bring to CAC?
Well, thank you, Dan. Thank you, Joe, for having me. You were mentioning about all the lines you have. Once people know who's on the program today, you might get quite a few phone calls. Most of them you probably have to block. Anyway, back to your question. I've been around Pinal County for quite a while. I came here in 1979. Before that, I was in the military. I was in the Army, and one of my assignments was Fort Huachuca. Okay. Most folks know where Fort Huachuca is, over in southern Arizona by Sierra Vista. I happened to meet my wife there, and once I decided to leave the service, I decided that I think I want to live in Arizona. For some reason, the climate just appealed to me. So that's what we did. We came to Tucson. That's where her folks are, in 1979. And, of course, I decided to get into a career in law enforcement. I was in law enforcement in the military. I was in aviation electronics.
Okay.
For some reason, I decided that law enforcement would be something I wanted to do for the rest of my life as a profession. So I remember putting in all the applications that we all normally do for the big agencies, Tucson Police, Pinal County. One day I'm looking at a newspaper and I see an ad for Pinal County Deputy Sheriff. Well, the first question was, where was Pinal County? Never heard of it at the time. So I thought, well, why not? Nobody else is hiring. So I ended up being hired by the Pinal County Sheriff's Office back in March of '79. It was kind of interesting background there, because after I met with the sheriff and he offered me the position, I left. Remember, I came from Tucson, so Highway 79 was the only thing I know about Pinal County. So I decided to come out and look at Stanfield. Stanfield was my assignment at the time. It's going to be my first assignment.
That's an amazing place. I go out there about once a month to pick up feed.
Pick up feed?
Right. For my feed place.
Funny thing about me is I've always lived in big cities, and I assume that when you see a name on a map, that's a town. That's a city. So I'm driving up on Woodruff Road, and little did I know, 30 years later, I would end up working for CAC. But I see this college rising up in the distance, and I get to the intersection, and I was just taken aback by the fact that there's a college at the time, middle of nowhere.
Yeah, coming up out of the ground like zombies.
That's the way it looks. We don't go there, but I went to Casa Grande, and I remember driving through Casa Grande, saying to myself, "Well, this is a nice city. I wouldn't mind living here, but let me check out Stanfield." So I continued to drive. And for those who are familiar with the geography, I ended up on I-8, on Highway 84. And I realized, being the smart fellow that I am, I missed something somewhere. So I turned around, went back, and the old folks remember the U-totems. That's what we used to call the convenience stores. I stopped at a U-totem, allegedly, quote, in the middle of nowhere. I walked in. Remember, I just came from my interview, so I have a shirt and tie. Just left the military, short hair. So I asked the lady at the counter, said, "Excuse me, ma'am, can you tell me where Stanfield is?"
And she said, that bump that you felt in the road when you passed here, that was Stanfield.
You're close, because the reply was, first she looked me up and down and said, "Well, you're standing in it."
You're standing in it.
And then she followed that comment by, "Let me guess, you're a new deputy sheriff, ain't you?" "Oh, yes, ma'am." So that was my introduction to Pinal County.
Wow, that's a story.
Worked for the Sheriff's Office at Stanfield, Maricopa. Maricopa is amazing today from what it used to be. Maricopa used to be 3 bars, Sheriff's Office.
Although there's a fair, from what it sounds like, from all the sheriff's reports that I get every day for the press, it seems like there's a fair amount of crime in Stanfield. Is that true?
I don't know. I can't say, because I don't keep track of criminal activity outside the college.
A lot of people stealing bikes and taking people's cats and...
Well, I'm sure it's grown a little bit since the time Chief was talking about. And cat theft is a number one
That's
crime.
been big lately.
Yeah. Cat theft and UFOs, I'm hearing, are...
From in Stanfield.
We're going to run that road, and you're never going to get me back to the topic. But Maricopa's incredible. I mean, the way it's grown is amazing. So I worked for the Sheriff's Office 2.5 years, patrol detective. Then they wanted to transfer me up to Kearney, and I said I didn't want to go up to Kearney. So I went to work for the city of Eloy. At the time, they were hiring police officers.
And you worked there for quite a while, didn't you?
18 years in the city of Eloy. Yeah. Worked patrol, detectives, support services, that sort of thing. Worked my way up the ranks. And at that point, I decided to go back to school. Finished my undergrad and went for my grad. Really enjoyed going back to school. That was a neat experience. And by the way, I did it all at CAC. A lot of folks didn't know that, but back in those days, mid-1990s, University of Phoenix was at CAC. There was an agreement with them. So otherwise, I would have never finished my degree, because I was the type of fellow that I was not going to drive to Tucson or Phoenix for an education. So I finished that thanks to Central Arizona College. And then they brought NAU a year after I finished. So I jumped on my NAU master's degree, and I also completed that at CAC. So a little plug-in for CAC NAU there.
Yep.
Let's see what happened then. I decided that I was ready to be chief. Like a lot of folks, we think we've reached the apex and we want to take that shot. So I applied for several positions, and one of them was Gila River Indian Reservation. I applied there, and I was selected as chief in 1999. That was kind of a unique experience, because I had the opportunity to form or create a brand new police department. Before that, the police services at the reservation were usually provided by the federal government, the Bureau of Indian Affairs. There was a law passed back in 1975 that allowed Indian communities, if they have the ability to do so, i.e. the money, to establish their own social services, hospitals, and police, they could do so with the blessings of the federal government.
So how do you build a police department from scratch?
Well, it's kind of neat. As far as the facility was great, because it was already built when I arrived.
Okay.
The department was created in 1998, and then there was a chief there for a while. He left. So I came in 1999. They've been a police department for a little less than a year. The facility was gorgeous. I don't know if anybody's ever been to Zacatón. the police facility, police detention, is an $18 million building. It's an amazing building. So I kind of walked in with that already taken care of.
Okay.
So when I say build, I just build the infrastructure,
Sure.
the rules and regulations. I continue hiring. We still had a lot of slots.
I need to jump in really quick so I can work on this while you guys are talking. What do you want me to bring into this for your presentation? All of it?
There
Or?
should be a folder that says CAC Live.
That would make sense. Okay.
I'm witty that way.
All right, go ahead.
We've got a visual treat for everybody watching watching later. We have some video that we're importing right now into the program.
When we get to the asteroid section,
yes,
we'll talk about
and the UFOs.
Nah. See, I'm going to get labeled with that, and I'm never going to get rid of it. No, I'm not a
Gotcha.
UFO believer.
We were off the air. We were talking about a UFO that we spotted not far from the studio. Was it 2 nights ago, Joe?
Yeah.
2 nights ago. So, yeah.
Folks, I have nothing to do with that story. So what happened? I built the police department, hired just a ton of people. By the time I left, the department was 92 employees. A lot of people didn't know that at the time. Gila River Police Department was larger than Casa Grande. It was larger than, it still is, by the way, larger agency than Apache Junction. It's the largest police agency in Pinal County. But it's sort of out of the way. Some folks just don't think about Gila River too much. So I was there for 4 years. A lot of challenges, as people say, opportunities to correct a lot of issues and problems. So it was kind of a neat experience. At that point, I had 24 years law enforcement. I decided I've had enough. I thought I would try something else, mistakenly so. I left, and I also teach for University of Phoenix. I do some teaching for them, and my plan was just to teach, and that was it. Take it easy in retirement. That lasted about 3 weeks. I realized that I'm one of those people just cannot be retired.
Right.
It drives me nuts.
You get a little bored.
Couldn't do it. I don't know how much golf people can play. I don't play golf, but I would drive me nuts. Anyway, I went back to
try fishing.
Fishing.
Gotta love fishing. Fishing for golf balls.
Yeah, no.
It's even better.
Water. Right. So what did I do? I went back to work for the state with the Arizona Criminal Justice Commission at the time, doing grants management from people that I knew through law enforcement. I did that for a couple of years. And one day I'm looking at that screen and looking at Excel spreadsheets and budgets, and I realized that's not what I want to do. I want to be a cop again. So I went to work for the Department of Juvenile Corrections as a criminal investigator. I did that for a year. Then I received a phone call from CAC, person that shall remain nameless, advising me that there was a couple of positions here that were open, director of the academy and the police department chief. So at the time, I turned them down. A couple of months later, I decided that I would look him up and look up the opportunity. The police department chief's job was still open. So I was invited to apply, and it's kind of nice when people have you in mind and invite you to apply for a job. When
Well, it validates your efforts.
Absolutely.
Yep.
So I was lucky enough to be hired in 2006, and I've been here ever since. The department had a lot of challenges and opportunities again to grow and improve, and we did a lot of things. One of the very first things I had to do was fill all the positions. There was a lot of positions that were vacant. So we fully staffed the police department, and I've been here ever since.
So how many years total at CAC?
6.
6 years.
6 years.
Okay. So just 1 year longer than I have. Wow. So we're both kind of spring chickens still, I think. I still consider myself new, but, you know, it still feels like...
Every time I see you, it feels like I've just met you again anyway, so I understand.
So I always tell you crazy things that you didn't know before.
I think he just told you had a forgettable face.
Yeah, hi, who are you again? So, okay, Chief. So you're at CAC for 6 years, and let me just get these two questions out of the way because I know they're going to come in via chat or via call.
I better put the chat up.
Well, have you shot anybody, and what's your favorite flavor donut? We just need to get those out of the way right now so that we can focus on the more serious
I
stuff.
cannot wait to hear the donut one.
No, I'm just kidding. So, Central Arizona College.
I'll be happy to answer that.
I mean, because, I think we have a lot in common as far as that goes.
As far as the donuts
right,
or the
right.
shooting people?
No.
Okay.
Have I shot anybody? No, but the day's still young. So. And I've never spent this much time with Dan, so it's a possibility.
I feel the heat rising in the room.
Oh, he's about done already.
No, it's kind of funny because you meet police officers today, and I joke about it, but it's very serious, of course, being in good physical health. This is a job you have to.
Right.
Especially you work the streets. But you can't find cops that like donuts and coffee anymore.
Yeah.
It's very strange.
Yep.
They're very rude at the donut places now. It's not like it used to be. You know, they actually
Well, the chief is onto something here because he said, it's hard to find cops that like at Dunkin' Donuts.
You see him eating carrots a lot.
Well,
now.
they're advertising discounts for police officers.
What?
They are. If you go to Dunkin' Donuts,
is that true?
It is. There's a sign that says we offer discounts for police and fire.
I wouldn't know.
Yeah. So it's almost like they're begging them to come and partake in the donut consumption. Because,
by the way, you dropped a coupon.
Well, you have this new crop of young police officers that drink mineral water and eat tofu. I mean, that's it.
Yeah.
How can you trust a policeman that doesn't eat a donut?
But they're ninjas, I think.
and
they're
they
like the American ninjas.
Yeah, and they recycle too. I mean, they recycle.
No way.
Oh yeah. Oh, this whole it's crazy. It's a crazy world.
Next, they'll have a solar oven, right?
Oh, and they drive hybrid cars. I mean, you can't, hybrid police cars. It's hard to catch people in a hybrid police car. Let me tell you. I can outrun them in my my Cavalier out there. No, I'm just kidding. So Central Arizona College, generally a safe environment for students
Extremely
to come?
safe.
Okay.
I'm glad you asked that question. And by the way, this is not prearranged.
Right.
What does it mean, ask Dan about the zombies?
We'll get into that later.
Okay,
we have
sorry.
a shooting range at the college that we use to train officers specifically to prepare for the incoming zombie invasion. So we'll get to that in a little bit, though. But generally safe environment, Central Arizona College.
Extremely safe. One of the things that I like to tell folks when we do orientations and presentations and programs for all the current and future students and parents, it's a very safe place. When you compare a place like Central Arizona College with places like I don't want to name specific universities, but large urban universities, and you look at their crime figures versus our crime figures, I mean, it's just ridiculous. There's no comparison. We have, and I'm perfectly comfortable telling you and the folks listening, there's no violent crime at CAC. In the 6 years I've been there, we've had no violent crime incidents. We have minor incidents, a couple of students maybe getting a fist fight. But when you look at the statistics, my daughter came to CAC in 1993 before she went to ASU. And let me tell you, I went to ASU with her and looked at the area, and I had nightmares about her living in an ASU dorm. CAC, I'm perfectly comfortable because of the fact, number one, we have, as you said at the beginning of the show, a fully sworn police department there. So we're police officers, not security officers. So I felt very comfortable with her. It's a very safe place.
And she attends CAC?
She did in 1993, and then she went to ASU and graduated.
Is ASU, a little bit on the rougher side?
Well, here's the thing. It's not to pick on ASU. You pick in any major
Right.
university.
With a lot of people.
That you have in the middle of an urban area.
Right.
Universities don't have fences and gates. It's not like a military post. You have all kinds of, quote, strange people
wandering on campus.
Of the campus, and some of those people do commit crimes. So the scenario is very different. I always tell folks at CAC that to commit a crime at CAC, you have to work at it. You have to drive out to CAC to actually get in trouble.
Right.
Because of our location. Now, eventually, we'll probably be another 20 years in the middle of an urban area. But as it sits today, as it has for the last 30, 40 years of its existence, it's a very safe place. Our officers are very proactive. I almost said aggressive. People don't like that word. Our officers are proactive, which means they patrol. They have police cars, black and white, and they keep an eye on people coming in and out. Not so much in the daytime during the regular semester, but at night. If you drive into CAC at 3 o'clock in the morning, I almost guarantee you're going to be stopped.
Right.
At some point in time, a black and white police car is going to come behind you, turn the lights on.
No kidding.
And ask you, hey, how you doing? What are you doing here?
Yeah.
It's 3 o'clock in the morning. There's no classes going on.
Right.
On a Sunday.
The library's not open.
Yeah.
You can drive in on a Sunday in the afternoon, and they might not stop you, but you see the police car around keeping an eye on you.
Right.
We're very protective of the fact that we have students living there.
Right.
It's like a small town. During the regular semester, you have about 350 students. So I like to explain to folks, it's like having a small little city within your college. So you have to make sure that safety is provided and that they have police services. I also tell folks the response time of a police officer at CAC is 30 seconds from one end of the campus to the other. And unless you live behind the police station, you'll never have a faster response time.
Right.
Both from law enforcement and fire department. We have regional fire who we contract with for medical and fire services 2 minutes away from the college.
Right.
So to answer your first question, it's a very safe place.
Yeah.
Very safe place.
It is very safe, and I have to give a shout out to two of the officers at CAC who I know have personally helped me out with some things. Officer Reynolds and Officer Kenny, both of them have been extremely helpful on multiple occasions. Anything from unlocking the studio doors for my students to get in after hours to do recordings on some of their projects they've been working on. Things like helping us move individuals back and forth between different buildings during campus events. We had some seniors who were there who needed additional assistance. Walking to their car after one of our events, and Officer Kenny came and helped, assisted with that. So really, when you said proactive, those are the two individuals that popped into my head instantly, because I know they've both been godsends, and all of the officers there at CAC, they're very friendly. You always see them around. Now that they're allowed to drive on the sidewalk, they can really make sure that people are doing what they're supposed to be doing, and you always see the golf carts driving around with the officers in there. And if you're a staff member or a student at CAC and you're watching right now, just make sure you remind them that we appreciate the job that they're doing, because, like the chief said, our campus is very safe. And if people wanted to go and find out what are the incidents that occur on campus, and how many of them are to get the statistics on that, where can they go to find that information?
You can get information either by coming by the police department or on our website. Thanks to federal laws that were passed quite a few years ago, colleges must gather statistics when it comes to crime. The crime reports, it's called an annual safety report, and now it's called an annual safety and fire report, because we also have to report any fires and the number of fire drills we conduct. But at any rate, that information is available at the police department. Or you can go online. You can just go to the CAC website. The very top left, where it says about CAC or about the campus, you click on that. Drop-down window will open, Campus Police. Click on that, and you see something on the right-hand side. A series of menus you can highlight, and you'll find the latest annual safety report, which, again, is a federal requirement. We can't hide our crime statistics. They have to be out there. They have to be made available. They are published in October of every year, so we're getting ready to publish our new set of statistics. But as you said before, it's a very safe campus. Let me mention something about the police officers that we have at CAC, Signal Peak campus.
Please do.
One of the things that I look for when I hire a police officer, and by the way, every police officer there now has been hired during my time as chief, and we look for a very different type of police officer. We don't understand your typical police officers out there doing his or her job, has to make arrests, has to respond to a lot of violent crime calls, has to have a certain level of activity when it comes to traffic enforcement, traffic violation. That's not the type of police officer we look for, CAC. As just mentioned before, it's a very quiet campus. So the type of police officers that we hire are community-oriented police officers. When I sit down with a prospective police officer, spend a little time talking to them about what we do here, and make sure that police officer applicant understand, because if it's not what they're looking for, I encourage them to move on. This is not for them. Campus policing is very quiet, very mellow, for lack of a better term, and we're more community-oriented. The folks that out there in what I call the rest of the world, when they see a police officer, they usually don't want to see you. Well, that's not who they want to see in the rearview mirror. That's not who they want to see when they have a problem.
Yeah, people don't usually see police officers when everything's going great.
That's usually a negative connotation. You see that uniform if something bad is happening.
Right.
At the college and at all campuses, people like to see us just because of the fact that they feel safer.
Right.
When folks see a police officer, whether it's a police officer will walk in, a golf cart or the black and white police cart, they feel very comfortable. And staff and students have told us this. They feel very good when they see us go by, because they know should the unthinkable ever happens, there are officers present and our response time is practically immediate. So it's a very different type of police officer. It takes a very different type of personality to be a good campus police officer. We're not obsessed with the number of tickets that we write and the number of people we arrest. Actually, our peers kind of think it's amusing, because on a typical year, CAC, a 12-month calendar year, we may actually book someone into jail maybe once in a year.
Yeah.
I mean, in other places, that's one every hour.
Right.
And when it comes to actually writing criminal citations for minor offenses, 12, 15 a year, maybe, or let me back up a semester, if that many. So,
and it's not that the police aren't doing their job; it's they are doing their job, which is why these numbers are low.
So the numbers are low, and we like them. Wow, we love those low. I totally love comparing our numbers with any other community, particularly any other college campus, because they're low, and we like them that way.
So in your mind, true or false, Central Arizona College, one of the safest campuses you can enroll in Arizona?
Oh, no question.
No question.
No question.
Well, that's good to know for parents and prospective students who are thinking about a safe environment, because you hear a lot of things about school shootings and and violent sexually motivated crimes, and at CAC those numbers are extraordinarily low, almost uncharacteristically low of a college of our size.
And this is something I never thought of, but Cindy from Flagstaff just called in and she says she's moving to Casa Grande. And she really wants to have peace of mind. She took a year off because of the concern for safety. She's a 19-year-old female that doesn't have any experience out in the world. And she said she really appreciates what you do, and just a reassurance, she should feel safe when she's there, right?
Absolutely. Is it Cindy?
Yes, Cindy from Flagstaff.
Thank you for calling. Absolutely. As I said before, my daughter came through there, and I was very reassured. And let me emphasize something else. Just because nothing, quote unquote, ever happens at CAC doesn't mean we're complacent. Our police officers are highly trained, just as trained as any other police officer. When it comes to what's known nowadays as an active shooter scenario, where you have a person may come on campus and decide to vent his or her anger with a weapon, our officers train continuously. We train at least no less than 3 or 4 times per year. When I say train, what we do is, and you'll see our email once in a while, our email will come on and say, on this Sunday, don't come into this building because the building will be barricaded and secure because we're doing active shooter training. So we do a lot of training to prepare for the unthinkable. And like anybody else, we hope for the best, but we prepare for the worst.
That's right, and that's being vigilant.
Absolutely.
I mean, that's how we get those numbers low, is to be vigilant. We keep up to date on our training. And now, how do you go about, is there any type of, assimilating new trends? Like, for instance, when terrorist attacks occur, the country goes on a higher alert. I know just the other day there was an article about a flashlight explosive device that was found. Was it Goodyear? I don't remember.
This one was in Phoenix.
It was in Phoenix.
Once in Glendale, and the
Glendale,
one that exploded was in Phoenix.
Glendale and Phoenix. So, I mean, does that change how you run the department? When something like that comes up, say it's a flashlight that has been found that explodes in Glendale or Phoenix or wherever, Goodyear, wherever, and do you, other than a memo to your staff, I mean, do you initiate any different type of training, or how do you handle that? I mean, is that might not be part of the daily routine that an officer encounters. It might be part of a training that they took at one point, but how do you address those unique situations that may arise on campus or that may come on campus?
Well, one of the interesting things that we have, not just in Arizona, I'm sure in every state, is there's an anti-terrorism task forces, and there's anti-terrorism organizations, government organizations, that continually, including the FBI, that continually keeps us informed. Because it's very easy to sit out in the corner of Pinal County thinking you know what's going on, besides what you hear in the media. We don't. We have professional networks that continually sending us that information. The flashlight incident in Glendale, I mean, within hours, we had the full information, which wasn't released to the media, by the way. The full information on the devices and what to look out for and what to be aware of. So there's constant information flow from different agencies to the local agencies through email or listserv, whatever you want to call it. So there's continuous bulletins that come up. We also connected to what's called the National Crime Information Center, which is a computer managed by the Department of Public Safety. We have a terminal, just like any other police department does, at our building, and we are fed information to those to that terminal. Whenever something that's urgent, it comes to the terminal. And a lot of the information is not for public release, so it's strictly for law enforcement only. So we stay very informed, and the information, of course, is disseminated to the officers. If there's need for additional training, we certainly do that also.
I would have never guessed this was a problem. I mean, this is something I literally, and I've seen all the stuff in the news and all that from around the country, but it never occurred to me to not consider a college because of safety reasons. I mean, this is how dumb. My kids are going to be going to college soon themselves. And you got your first call from Cape Cod.
Oh, wow. Hello, Cape Cod.
Frank.
Thanks for listening.
Are weapons of any type allowed on campus? His sister goes there.
All right. Well, Chief, you want to take that?
Excellent question. One of the laws that we used to have and was recently changed was the availability of weapons in your vehicles. Up to about a couple of years ago, you were not allowed to have any kind of a firearm on a college campus. The state law did change. Now you're allowed to have a firearm in your vehicle. And the main reason for the law, and I don't...
Wow. Is that at any campus?
At any campus in the state. I don't quite disagree with that because you have to think about some other factors. Here's an example of the reason why the law changed. You have folks that may have been threatened, women involved in domestic violence situations, they take the time to go out and train, obtain a firearm permit, carry a firearm. Then they come to school and we tell them we can't have it here.
Right.
Well, how are you going to get it from home to your car and so forth? So the law was changed, and you can, in fact, in a college in Arizona, bring a firearm. The firearm must be in the vehicle, locked away.
Yep.
You're not allowed to have it on your person, obviously on the buildings. And there have been some efforts recently by the legislature. In fact, I did go to the legislature a few months ago to testify against having weapons on campus and having the availability of concealed weapons on classroom. We can have a whole discussion on.
Oh yeah, that's a whole nother show right
that's
there.
That's a hot button topic, especially in a state like Arizona. A lot of people like their guns and carry guns, and I'm certainly not opposed to it. I carried a gun before I became a cop. I plan to carry a gun after I retired, but we have to have some common sense rules. And when you have an environment like a classroom, it can be very dynamic. It can be very agitated at times. I'm not sure that you want to introduce weapons to a classroom discussion. So there's a disagree. That's just my opinion. But to answer the question, in Arizona, you can have a weapon in your vehicle. It must be locked. If it's a handgun, you must be 21.
Right.
Yeah.
And I think, a lot of the reason for that legislation, as the chief mentioned, is if you are a legal gun owner and you have a permit and you're carrying it and you're in your car and you're going about your normal day and then you have to go take a class, what are you supposed to do if you can't keep the gun in your car?
Exactly.
Do you leave it, you deposit it in a ditch outside of campus, pull your car in, hope it's there when you leave? No. So I think it does make sense to keep it in the car. But I think one of the items, too, about the introducing weapons to campus is, the question about if there is an active shooter scenario on campus and the police respond to it, and everybody's got a gun because they could, or a large number of people have guns. How do you identify the active shooter in a scenario? It makes it more difficult for trained officers.
From a police officer's standpoint, it's just a tactical nightmare.
Right.
That would start a zombie apocalypse. For sure.
Yeah. Well, let's take a quick break here, and you're going to listen to some messages from our sponsors. When we get back, more from Chief Luis Martinez on Central Arizona College safety and minor planets. We'll get to that in a little bit. Stay tuned.
This is Mike McCord. I would like to serve as your Pinal County Supervisor, District Number 2. With zero opportunities for error, I understand the needs of one of the fastest growing communities in the United States. This is where my experience and education come into play. I hold a master's degree in business administration and have worked as an operations manager for a paramedic service, as well as currently serve as the executive director for a public charter school in Pinal County. Vote for me, Mike McCord, on August 28th, 2012.
Mike McCord leading the way. This message was paid for by the Mike McCord for County Supervisor Committee.
Are you experiencing computer problems? Is your computer running slow, bogged down with viruses and spyware? You need a reliable and knowledgeable, trustworthy computer service company. Contact Computers, Networks, and More, located in Santan Valley. Get your computer or laptop running in top condition by a certified technician with 20-plus years experience and beta tester from Microsoft. Computers, Networks, and More provides repairs and solutions to any computer-related issue, whether it's software, installation, troubleshooting, updates, or tune-ups. You can trust Computers, Networks, and More. Contact Jeff Monday through Saturday, 8 a.m. to 7 p.m. to schedule an appointment. We can have you up and running quickly, usually within 48 hours. Located in Santan Valley. Computers, Networks, and More. We're here for you. Contact Jeff at 480-729-8899. That's 480-729-8899. Our family pets are such a big part of our lives. That's why Kelly's Critter Clips of Queen Creek and Sun Lakes has been providing pet grooming services for over 10 years. Your dog's comfort is very important to us, so we take the time to treat your pet with care, love, and professional attention it deserves. We welcome any size and breed and feature shampoo and conditioning, styling, flea and tick dips, ear cleaning, nail trimming, and so many other services that will leave your pet looking good and smelling good and feeling great, all at an affordable price. Located in Queen Creek and Sun Lakes, call now for an appointment, 480-655-5066. Kelly's Critter Clips.
As a small business owner, you need to make every dollar count. Phone services are the first indication of quality your customers see in your business.
Get all the latest features at a great monthly cost that can save you money and project your business as a professional entity.
Call Zentris Communications at 1-877-ZENTRIS. That's 1-877-936-8727.
That's 1-877-936-8727.
Hi, Marie here for wannasing.com. Are you looking for professional DJ or karaoke services for your next holiday party or get-together? wannasing.com can provide the best in sound, lighting, and a professional MC to host your next event. Whether it be a company party, birthday party, wedding, or any occasion, wannasing.com is ready to provide the fun and make it a night to remember for years to come. Call 480-664-8801. That's 480-664-8801. Mention this radio ad and receive a special discount for your next fun event. wannasing.com.
Welcome back. This is the CAC Live Show on KQCKLive.com. For those just tuning in, I am Dan Bush, guest host for Tom DiCamillo. He is out today. And I'm here with Joe C. and special guest Chief Luis Martinez. He is the Chief of Police for Central Arizona College. And we've talked with Chief a little bit about the security at CAC, public safety, his background. And one of the things I have to bring up, it's my ultimate favorite email I get every year from the Chief, and this goes out to all of the staff. And it is the watch out for the poisonous critters. And, you know, people, when they think of police, they don't think of the critters. They think of the criminals. But sometimes you have a rampant Gila monster wander into a faculty office, and people have to wonder, you know, that is included in the public safety umbrella.
I always carry a blueberry muffin stuffed with a baby bunny rabbit, just in case.
Just in case.
I run into a Gila monster that's hungry.
Right. And out here, you probably do.
I do. You know, we actually had one in last September. Walk right up to the door
and knock. No, sorry.
I don't think it knocked, but when my guest opened the door and saw that, she almost fainted.
Yeah.
She was like,
well, it's better than the.
She thought it was like a prop.
Oh.
I'm like, do not touch that.
Don't
by the
touch
way.
the prop.
Right.
Well, you know, we've had rattlesnakes because, you know, we are in a rural community. We're at the base of a mountain, so you have the javelinas that come out at night. You have, which I thought were mythical creatures until I moved here and started at CAC. I'm a city boy. I didn't know what I thought they were elves. I thought javelinas were elves. I didn't know that they were real.
They also double as the tooth fairy.
I didn't know they were little
pigs.
Just
in case you didn't know that.
And you know, and then it took years before I actually saw one dead. And then I said, okay, so they are real. It's like Bigfoot. It's like, you know.
And then if you eat one thinking it's a pig, you'll realize that it's like a big rat. It's a rodent.
Is it a rodent?
It tastes like crap.
It looks like a pig.
Like they look just like pigs, don't they?
Yeah.
But it's amazing.
Wow. Well, it's the you know, the Gila monsters, the rattlesnakes. Is that a problem at CAC, or is it just something we need to remain vigilant about?
It's just something you need to be aware of, and that's one email, by the way, that you'll never see if you work or study at Yale or Harvard. Or
but they have their own natural things that come up.
They have the two-legged critters, but. The thing is, we live in the desert. The college is built in the desert, and it's just the way it is. So we need to understand and accept there are some things that you need to be aware of. And every semester, we make sure that folks, the staff, of course, and the students are aware of the fact that we have wildlife at CAC. And I tell you, if you really want to have an interesting conversation sometime, talk to the midnight officers, the guys that work the graveyard. I shouldn't say guys. The folks that work the graveyard shift. They will tell you they see foxes, javelinas, you mentioned, all kinds of critters, and they just kind of cut across the campus like they own it.
Yep.
You know, they're looking for water usually, and they'll go down further into the valley, and then later they'll come back up the mountain. Of course, you also need to wear a rattlesnake. And rattlesnakes, when we do these discussions, we tell people, when we mention rattlesnake, particularly new students and parents, you see the eyeballs just immediately become extremely large. And we try to set them at ease. It's just a simple fact of life. They're out there. Rattlesnakes do not chase people. And I always remind folks, they're not going to chase you around like a lion or something like that. You just need to be aware when you're walking where you're stepping on.
Right.
And we always advise folks, if you stick to the walkways, and there's paved walkways at the Signal Peak campus, and at every campus, I should say. If you just stick to the walkways, you won't have any problem. Once in a while, you may be walking along and you see a rattlesnake just coiled under a bush. You just give us a call, and call the police, and the police will promptly call the fire department.
And the fire department, they'll call the person on call that does it as a volunteer.
And the fire department will come out and remove the reptile, and they take it out in the desert and cut it loose. We've had, I've been here 6 years, so I think I remember maybe 2 calls where we actually Gila monsters, which is like a big green and pink looking lizard that will, crawl into somebody's office because they leave the door open, or they'll see it walking across the walkway. And again, we just call the fire department and they'll handle it. It's not a big issue. Historically, I haven't been able to find any incident ever where anyone was bitten by a rattlesnake at Central Arizona College. But that's because we try to practice this proactive approach and make sure that folks understand. And we tell the students, because you know how young folks are, leave them alone. They will not hurt you if you don't try to hurt them. Don't throw rocks. Don't go prodding them with a stick.
Don't try to pick them up.
Don't try to pick them up because they will bite you. So just leave them alone. And like I said, it's not a problem. It's just a question of once we identify the location, we'll have someone come and pick them up. When I first came here, I was looking at the fire department contract. And of course, I hope Chief Kerber doesn't mind this comment, but we have a contract with the fire department. One of the paragraphs was removal of poisonous reptiles. Up until I came here, the officers did it. They had a snake bucket. And
That's not a big deal, though.
Yeah, if you don't care for snakes.
If you're if you're squeamish, it's a problem.
So I read that paragraph and went, wait a minute, why are we doing this?
Why are we doing this?
Because we've always done it. Well, no. Let's have the fire department folks.
Do they at least send you to a 2-day herpetology class?
Yeah,
or
they don't
anything?
teach that at the police academy, unfortunately.
No?
You don't have a class on picking up
Should
snakes.
be a prerequisite for something.
I would think.
Yeah.
Well, we'd like to shoot them, but you can't do that on campus.
Okay.
Probably create a problem.
Yeah. You get a lot of calls.
Yeah.
So, all right. Well, we're gonna do a real big gear shift here, and one of the reasons why we wanted to bring the chief in here, and some people know this, he has another side to him.
Secret life.
It's a secret life. Okay. And
we're exposing that today.
We're exposing all. This is an expose episode here, and people, they may be shocked. The chief actually is an avid astronomer, and as such, he does a very specific type of research. No, it's not stargazing. It is actually the study of what's called minor planets, it's the scientific word for asteroids, which we've heard.
Wow.
And a lot of people, don't understand the breadth and depth of why that's important. And some people have seen movies like Armageddon. And what was the Armageddon ripoff movie?
Deep Impact.
Deep Impact, yeah.
You've seen them all.
Unfortunately.
Yeah. And I think there was a really bad B-movie one called Asteroid. That was the video game. Yeah, that was great. But anyway, what people don't understand is the study of asteroids can actually help lead to the preservation of mankind in an extinction level event if we understand them, understand which ones are on path toward the U.S. or the world in general. And it's definitely something that we don't know a lot about, and so we wanted to bring the chief in here to talk to us about what is it that you do, how did you get into this field, and what can you tell the avid listeners who may be interested in both public safety and astronomy?
Not too many of those. By the way, let me clarify. It's astronomy, not astrology.
Right.
Okay, that's entirely
I didn't
different.
say astrology,
No,
did
you
I? Okay,
didn't.
I did say it
But
right. Okay.
Once in a while, I get those questions. Can I read my palm where you're looking at that star? No. Well, to go back to my interest, of course, being one of the nice things about being old is I remember in 1969 when the Apollo astronauts landed on the moon. I was at home, glued to the front of the TV, taking Polaroids of the television screen. I've always had an interest in space. Astronomy is an expensive hobby. That's one thing. The first things you learn is that telescopes, especially the ones that are fully automated, the ones that you really need to do research, they cost a lot of money. So, policemen don't make a lot of money. It took quite a while before I eventually was able to purchase a telescope and became involved. But I like studying asteroids. And one of the things about astronomy is such a vast field. When you look at the professionals, professionals will not tell you, well, I do astronomy. No, they're very specific. They do minor planets. They'll do solar system, planetary sciences, supernovas, deep space. The professionals specialize because it's such a huge field. I mean, you can't learn everything.
Well, it's like the medical field.
Exactly.
You know, every doctor has a specialty.
I have to regress really quick because I didn't grab this question here. Is destruction of campus property by wildlife ever a problem?
Not that I'm aware of. They seem to just use the campus as a path to reach wherever they're getting their food or where they're getting their water. That's an excellent question. I never thought about it because it's never come up. No.
We don't have a lot of large animals on campus. It's not like we
not
have
a lot of mooses and caribou and
no,
things.
nothing that
Bears.
No.
If you see a moose, we have a problem.
That's some global climate change, which
Yeah,
could
there
be
you
caused
go.
by an asteroid.
Right.
How about that segue,
Absolutely.
huh?
Excellent.
So-
You know, I just
You
get
pay
to
the big
telling
bucks.
I just get to telling my family. I said, you know, after I saw the UFO, of course, I had to take a moment of silence there.
Right.
That with all the different galaxies and everything out there, how can we be the only ones here? I mean, it just doesn't
Mathematically speaking,
doesn't make sense.
It's not statistically favorable that we are the only ones out there.
I mean, you have personal friends that are aliens, don't you, Dan?
Oh, yeah. Illegal, some of them.
Yeah?
Yeah. No.
I want you to know I made no comments.
back to asteroids.
This show is going into the twilight zone here real fast. Anyway, back to real science.
Yeah.
Okay.
And I'm going to start your presentation.
All right. So, again, I chose asteroids for several reasons. One of the main reasons is that they're interested in bodies in space. They're not planets. They call them minor planets because they don't meet the criteria of the 8 planets. By the way, Pluto used to be the 9th planet.
Mm-hmm.
Pluto was demoted.
Yes.
The International Astronomy Union decided that Pluto didn't meet the criteria,
Right.
because of size and other factors. So
He
Pluto
was let go.
demoted. He was let go. It's still there, but he's not a member of the family.
Right.
So
He's out of the will.
and that's a challenge to observing and tracking an asteroid because it's moving. It's like a star. I mean, any professional astronomers listening will correct me immediately. Stars do move, but the velocity at which a star moves is infinitesimal. You can't really see it, but you can see an asteroid move. If you can go to that YouTube video, I'll show you what happens. What we do is in the observatory, we take a lot of images, sometimes 100 of images in one run of the sky, a section of the sky where we know an asteroid is. And you can put those images together, and you can see the actual movement of the asteroids. And that's how both professionals and amateurs find asteroids in space. They compare pictures. They call that blinking the photograph. And the old-timers used to take big photographic plates.
How do I replay that? Here we go.
There we go.
All right.
So if you look at that, what you see is a field of stars, and then you see the asteroid moving. Pretty easy to pick out from the stars because it's moving. You can see it.
Yep.
And that's just a loop. It just keeps playing back and forth. So
Joe, does that look like the UFO that you saw right there?
That's it.
you guys are killing
That's
me.
the one.
Well, I think that maybe we have explained it then.
The only difference is the one that I saw had a flag behind it, and it said something. I think it said "Hello, Earthlings."
Okay.
Thank you. My professional reputation is shot.
So we're looking at a time lapse. Is that correct? So this is not actual live motion. This
Correct.
is,
You're
this
looking
is
at
multiple photos.
Yeah, you're looking at about 500-600 pictures.
Okay.
Put together.
So an asteroid. I mean, so it could have taken all night to capture all of those still images.
Absolutely.
So when people think asteroids, they think of the ones that might be, like meteors. Can you explain the difference between a meteor and an asteroid?
Like the ones coming to destroy the Earth.
Right.
A meteor is an asteroid or a piece of an asteroid that's actually entered the atmosphere.
Okay.
And as it enters, of course, it hits the atmosphere, heats up. That's what you call a shooting star.
Right.
When you see a shooting star, that is a piece of an asteroid coming
Okay.
into the atmosphere. Some will impact, will make it all the way to the ground.
Some burn
and
up.
That's one of the things that I brought to you today. Is
Oh.
Until I felt that, I decided. When I just felt that, I decided there's no way I am going to take a meteor shower.
Can we?
What?
I like the pun. That was a good pun. Can we turn on one of the cameras here? I want to show our viewing audience, and if you're just listening, you won't be able to see this, but I'm actually gonna hold this up to the camera here, and what I'm holding is an actual meteorite fragment.
That's the next word. Once it hits the ground,
it becomes a meteorite. So I'm
meteorite?
correct. Okay.
Meteorite.
Not a meteor
As
wrong.
opposed to a meteor wrong.
Right. This, and I'll hold it up to this camera here.
Oh, look at that! Nice view.
Yeah, this is a meteorite fragment, and what people don't understand is how flippin' heavy this thing is. What is it made out of?
It's mostly iron and nickel. It's about 2 pounds.
The thing's unbelievable.
Yeah.
For its size, it is extremely heavy. I mean, this is more heavier than any paperweight that I have.
And no, I didn't find it. I don't go around with a metal detector looking for these things. I acquired that.
Well, okay.
And I want you to know,
when he says acquired it, he broke into an armored vehicle. No.
And I want you to know, when I said I'd like people to bring me gifts, this is a great, and I want to thank you. Just kidding. He was gay. I saw him put his hand on his gun there. I'm like,
we're gonna talk about
it.
Yeah. So this is fascinating because this actually came from outer space. It entered the atmosphere as a meteor, hit the ground, became a meteorite fragment, and now we're holding it. So this origin is out of this world.
Let me give you another interesting piece of information while you're still holding it. Think about this for a second.
Mm-hmm.
That meteorite you're holding is 4.5 billion with a B years old. Those are the remnants. An asteroid is just leftover from when the solar system first formed, 4.5 billion years ago.
Wow.
That's one reason I want to own one, because after spending so many hours studying these little specks of light up in the sky, I thought, I want to hold one in my hand.
Right.
Just so I can
if that thing hit you in the head, you would have no head.
Right.
What
especially at the speed that it would be coming down.
Right. Is there more of a chance of getting hit by lightning than getting hit by one of those things?
That's an excellent question. I haven't looked those statistics.
Chief.
Good question.
Yeah,
you're going to have to get back to me on that.
You don't.
Because now I'm afraid to go out at night.
No, actually, I can answer that. Your chances of getting hit by lightning are a lot higher.
Yeah.
Oh, are they?
That happens a lot more regularly.
So
than people
people get hit a lot by these things.
No.
Pretty rare.
If that hits your car, it'd probably blow it up, right?
Put a hole in it.
I mean, I've seen those movies. I mean, what are they flying at? Like 50 million miles an hour?
Well, there is a terminal velocity, but it would depend on the mass and the size, I would think.
I mean, if one hit your car that was the size of like ASU Stadium,
well,
you'd be in trouble.
Yeah.
Out in space, they're about 30 to 40,000 miles an hour when they're coming at you.
Yeah.
But like you mentioned, terminal velocity, once they're coming down and they clear the...
Right.
Are they much bigger and they burn up as they come through the atmosphere? Or?
Yes, absolutely.
Even if they're metal, they'll still burn up.
Yes.
Very interesting. Yeah. So the asteroids... So asteroid is basically a meteor that's way out in space. It hasn't come into our atmosphere. Correct. And there's this thing called the asteroid belt. What is that, and is it something we need to worry about?
I think I have one on right now. No. Most of the asteroids in the solar system are kept within a certain area by forces of gravity, by impacts, and that's called the asteroid belt. The asteroid, the main belt. Mm-hmm. The main belt is between Mars and Jupiter.
Okay.
That's where most asteroids
are. There's just tons of these things floating around, but giant ones?
Absolutely. When I say we, the people that study asteroids have identified about 500,000 asteroids. When I say identify, means we give them a tag, a name, we compute the orbit, we know the path around the solar system.
And because of time frame, that's the only reason I'm jumping and asking questions here.
And out of that, we still have millions. I mean, of course, if you haven't discovered something, you know how many you have.
Right.
There are millions and millions of asteroids yet.
I just figured something out. I just made a major
breakthrough,
a major discovery.
Here?
Seriously.
What's that?
This is why we find alien craft sometimes on the ground crash. They get nailed by these things. And you find little pieces of unknown metals. Like, wow, look at that! It's clear, but it's metal.
It's like when you're driving and you hit something in the road and it blows out a tire. This is like
you don't find it because
this is like space debris that.
This is why scientists don't like doing radio shows.
I know. No, we're not poking fun.
No, not a bit. I mean, this thing is awesome.
It is cool. Now, Chief, let me ask you this. We've seen the movies. We've heard of the close calls, and when they say close calls, we've heard of an asteroid that actually passed between the moon and the Earth recently. Now, cosmically speaking, that's pretty freaking close, isn't it? I mean, between the moon and the Earth, it might be several thousand miles or something, to tens of thousands of miles, but that's in the grander scheme of things. That's an uh-oh moment where. Did we see that coming? Did we know about that coming in advance? And
generally, the orbits are being calculated, and because computer software and computers are fantastic as far as computing power, you can compute those orbits like 50 years in advance of the ones that we know of.
Right.
And we emphasize that. We still have millions that we don't know of. And, of course, there's a lot of astronomers and people like me that spend a little time watching the sky, so to speak. And the thing I want to emphasize is most astronomers, professional astronomers, have to get what we call telescope time. You know, we have this big, huge, expensive telescopes, but you have more astronomers than telescope. So when an astronomer wants to work on a project, a professional, he or she has to bid that time in advance. Okay, amateurs have the advantage that we can just step out our back door, go into our observatory, and pick a target and work that target. And I need to mention light curves here in just a minute, but the amateurs make a real contribution because the professionals can't always have the time and don't always have the book time on the telescope.
Right.
Like you said, someone...
So it's a limited resource.
Someone sends an alert and say, hey, this asteroid we think is going to come very close to the Earth. Well, now you have to figure out, can you get telescope time to get out there? Can you actually make the measurements that you need to make? So there's tons of, thousands, if you look at around the world, there's thousands of amateur, just like me, with small telescopes that do the same amount of work and the same quality of work. And let me mention the light curves before we run out of time. The main thing that I do, and if you can bring the PowerPoint, and I know we don't have time for it, but the last few pictures will show my backyard observatory towards the end there. And that's something that I have
I'll just kind of scroll through it here, and you guys can take a look at it as I go.
There's
We'll give it a little time for people to read it here.
If you can jump to the last...
Yeah, the last... All
right, you tell me where you want me to go.
All the way to the end.
I have to ask your opinion as I scroll here.
Sure.
Do you feel that eventually a rogue asteroid is going to wipe out the Earth? I'm not joking about that. I mean, this is...
We've had impacts in the past. 65 million years ago, we had the main impact. And
that's what wiped out the dinosaurs,
off the Yucatan Peninsula. That was 6 miles wide asteroid. So it changed the entire evolution of the Earth. Is it going to happen again? The experts say it will happen again. It's not a question of if it's going to happen. It's a question of when.
Whoa.
It may happen next week. I don't want to scare anybody, but the fact is there's a lot of people working on computing orbits and keeping an eye on these things.
Okay.
It may happen in another 1,000 years. We're going to have impact. We have been impacted. Look at meteorites.
That's an asteroid?
No, that's the moon.
That's what I thought. I'm like, wow.
But look at all the impacts.
Right,
Scientists used to think there was volcanic
eruptions.
eruptions.
Is that what those are?
Those are impacts from asteroids.
Yeah.
Wow.
So the moon gets hit a lot.
Oh, absolutely. And the Earth gets hit a lot. A lot of the impacts on the Earth have been covered because we have a geology, we have atmosphere, we have rain. So the things will erode.
That's your telescope?
That's my telescope. That's the backyard observatory,
Is that, those are some high-dollar things, aren't they?
Yeah.
Where do you live, by the way?
Live in Casa Grande.
Joe wants to come over.
Notice it said Casa Grande. I'll give you the address.
What are your hours of work?
I want all the burglars looking.
No, that's awesome, man. Yeah. Wow, that is incredible.
By the way, I don't have any skills when it comes to building anything. I pay somebody to build that for me.
So let me ask you this: the types of telescopes. There's different. What are they called? There's 7-inch, 8-inch. What does that mean?
They usually classify them by aperture. This one is 11 inches.
Look at that.
11 inches wide. The lens is 11 inches wide.
Wow. So what does that mean? The larger the aperture, the
more light you can gather, which means the smallest the object you can observe.
Okay.
I want to come over sometime and check this out.
This is fantastic.
I had a client a while back who had a telescope. It was giant. It was short, but it was really, really wide. And I'm sure that was a pretty big piece of change.
Yeah.
And this guy did the same thing.
So if you find an asteroid, can you have it named after you? Is that how it works?
That's a long process. Everybody always asks that question.
Yeah.
That's a long process. If you're the discoverer, and by the way, it's getting very difficult for amateurs to discover because of all the professional surveys and professional telescope. It's very difficult to discover one. But yes, you can apply. I think that's like a 2-year waiting period. You have to apply to the International Astronomy Union, and there's a process. And yes, you can have a name after.
Isn't there already a Chief Martinez out there?
Chief Martinez asteroid?
I'm working on it.
Right on.
If you go to the
you get my vote.
Next to the last slide there, where you have that funny looking light curve.
Okay.
Yeah.
Keep going.
That is a light curve. After you spend the whole night.
That one there.
Yeah. By the way, the whole process is automatic. That's why the telescope is so expensive. At the beginning of the evening, I target the asteroid that I want. I program the computer, tell it what I want it to do, and it just takes pictures all night long.
It follows it?
I go back to bed.
You mean it?
Oh,
what?
Yes. I go back to bed. And about 4 or 5 in the morning, I get up. All my images are accumulated. It's pretty cool.
And it's run by software. The software runs that.
All right.
Okay.
That's why it's so expensive.
I have to ask this, and I don't care if we run a few minutes over.
Okay.
Have you ever seen a spaceship in your thing? Come on.
No comment.
Wouldn't lie to me then.
No, we see. let me tell you, when
You've seen things that you couldn't explain, right?
You get a lot of
You get artifacts. You get artifacts.
Well, there are satellites. There's a ton of satellites out there. Once in a while, they happen to ruin your picture because they shoot right through it, and you see this line all the way across your image.
Right.
Oh.
So, anyway, computer software will calculate the rotation of the asteroid, how many hours it takes that particular asteroid to rotate, and then that information is submitted to the Minor Planet Center. They're in Harvard, and what they do is they serve as a center to gather all this data. So professionals can use the data to calculate the reflectivity of the asteroids, the size of the asteroid.
I didn't know it was this in depth. I mean,
cool.
Your microscope, telescope, or whatever it's called. It transmits data to Harvard.
Well, I do it so I gather and I compute all the information. I send that data to the Minor Planet Center.
He's like a kingpin out here.
Well, the thing
saving
is
the Earth.
A lot of people
I appreciate that.
A lot of people don't realize the in-depth data analysis.
I had
statistical
I honestly
gathering.
I thought you look at it and you go, oh, hey, you call someone, hey, by the way, I just saw this really cool asteroid.
Yeah.
And it's not like that.
No.
Yeah, I tell people I'm saving the Earth. No need to thank me.
So, are you currently tracking an asteroid right now, or like?
I'm working a couple of them. A couple of different ones. Yeah.
So you're identifying the orbits, and you're following the orbits. Is that what you're?
Computer software is amazing. This stuff used to take a lot of time to figure it out, manual calculations. Everything's in software now. You have a database where I know exactly. I can point the telescope to the exact point in the sky the asteroid is. Very simple.
That's great.
All I have to do is program the telescope, tell it what I wanted to do, how many images, and it does it all. And the cool thing is you can go back to bed.
So if there's a young aspiring astronomer out there who wants to get into what you're doing, what do they have to do? How much ballpark do they have to spend to get a small setup at home like you have to get into? I mean, if it's anything like music business, the budget can be ever growing, and there's really no end to how much you can accumulate.
Here's a short answer to that: it's an expensive hobby.
Right.
I'm sure I've invested $8,000 to $10,000 by now, but nothing keeps a young astronomer or potential astronomer out there from acquiring a cheaper telescope. It doesn't have to be automated. And the first things that you learn is you look at the moon. Learn how to use a telescope. Learn how to identify the constellation. You have to learn the sky.
Right.
Okay. So you can do that with a $200 telescope. It's very simple. Or CAC has a telescope. CAC has an astronomy class. They can do that for those that are old enough. But in schools they also have astronomy programs. So you can start very simple.
Right.
I chose to wait because that's the kind of person I am. I decided I want the expensive telescope.
You got to hear this. And I do believe this guy was totally serious because he didn't sound like he was joking. At first, I thought it was kind of, this guy was serious. So Ron Keene, people don't normally give their last name, from Cape Canaveral, said, "Keep up the great work, important work. Normal folks will never have any idea how important amateurs contribute to NASA and more."
Wow, thank you, Ron.
That's
Appreciate
amazing.
It.
Yeah. Well, I mean, a lot of people don't understand the fact that what the chief said.
Wow.
The professionals have to rent telescope time. The amateurs do it every day, every night. Well, every night, I guess, not every day. But that is definitely
just another major
that gave me
advantage.
goosebumps.
That was a major advantage I haven't mentioned yet, which is also very important. My wife knows where I'm at all times.
Right.
Yeah, right. A good and Jen up there. A good start would be to take the astronomy courses offered at CAC. And boy, Jen is right on the money. That's what we're doing here. The CAC live show.
Yeah, CAC has a huge telescope. Have you used the CAC telescope?
I haven't used it. There are several. I believe there are 3 telescopes.
And they're NASA quality. NASA.
The largest one is 24 inches.
Do you have
Is
that why we got this call? Do you have an association with NASA?
Well, not technically, but they use the information that we amateurs gather.
So they probably know you.
Well, they know his data.
That's fantastic.
Let me tell you what they know. They know H13. When an observatory produces enough data where you know what you're doing, you're accurate enough, the MPC at Harvard will assign you an observatory code. Oh. Just like Kid Peak has a code, my code is H13.
Okay.
So that's how you know.
I must be really good at social networking and marketing and stuff to get somebody from Cape Canaveral to call during our during the Chief's show here. This is fan. I'm telling you right now, I've impressed myself.
Well, this is CAC Live on KQCK Live.
That's right.
And you've listened to Chief
Are we done?
We're done.
Oh my God.
We're actually over time.
How about we just nix the next show and we just keep going?
We could keep going. Well, and I feel like we need to get Chief on the show again because there's so much more that he can talk about with regard to asteroid study.
Can we have that happen, Chief?
Absolutely.
Oh, I'd be honored to have the Chief back on here.
You let me know. I'll have it catered in that day. I'm serious.
It's donuts. No, I'm just kidding.
Donuts and please no UFO stories.
We'll go Mexican food. How about that?
That's great. Well, I just want to thank everybody for tuning in on KQCKLive.com. This is the CAC Live Show. This is Dan Bush for Tom DiCamillo and for Joe C. Thanks for listening. See you next week at our special new time, 10:30. And mahalo.
Thank you.
Thanks, guys, for listening. And we have Pac West Magazine Radio Show coming up at 12 o'clock for you.
Are you ready to start taking control of your future and maximize your earning potential? Central Arizona College has smaller class sizes and personalized attention to help you compete in today's tough job market. CAC now serves Santan Valley and Queen Creek. The CAC Santan Center is located in the shops at Copper Basin on Hunt Highway, behind Barrow's Pizza. Stop in and see how taking classes at CAC costs a fraction of a state university, and your credits can transfer. So, if you want to earn real money, you need to learn real skills at Central Arizona College. Enroll in classes today by calling 480-677-7825 or visit www.centralaz.edu.